So what the heck is One Health surveillance? One Health surveillance is, I'd call it a theory or a philosophy, but it's more of a political ideology. It's a worldview. It's a lens through which, well, people on the left, in this case, the World Health Organization, looks at the world. It's critical race theory and other critical theories mashed up into a noxious mess. So let me back up and explain what One Health is. So people who have espoused a One Health philosophy are people like, not people, but organizations like the United Nations and the CDC and even the World Bank. So right there is a little red flag. But One Health is the idea that everything on Earth is so interconnected. It's kind of like intersectionality, that everything on Earth is so interconnected that public health impacts racism and racism impacts public health, right? I use that example because we've heard this. We've heard this in our country from the Biden administration, that racism is a public health epidemic, when racism is a noxious ideology, or it's a sin, it's a prejudice, but it doesn't have to do with your likelihood of getting sick, or if you get sick, your threat of fatality or serious illness. Racism doesn't play into that institutionally. It's two separate things. There might be individual instances where racial discrimination impacts individual personal care, but that's not the same thing at all. So One Health is this idea that, climate change is even impacted by racism, or global warming is impacted by sexism. It's an intersectionality type ideology that, well, you guessed it, allows the World Health Organization, in the name of public health, to control policies on everything, political policies on everything. So it's what we've seen from governments and state governments in the United States. What they've done with COVID is they've said everything has to do with COVID-19. It's not just a vaccine. It's not just a mask. It's everything. It's the health equity that I mentioned before, that, this person with a certain skin color qualifies above another person with a certain skin color for treatment just based on that immutable characteristic. It's kind of the same theory that AOC used with her Green New Deal when she was talking about, well, socialism is the actual answer, the solution to climate change, that she just uses climate change alarmism as an excuse to expropriate power from everything and to push her pre-existing political ideology. That's kind of what this One Health philosophy is, or this One Health ideology. So in this pandemic treaty, this zero draft from the World Health Organization, they include policies on carbon emissions, because carbon emissions, they claim, impact climate change, which they claim impacts public health, which they claim leads to poorer outcomes in a global pandemic. So you see how this is so all-encompassing and so vague that in the name of public health, you could have the World Health Organization dictating to us that we're not allowed to buy gas-powered cars based on the fossil fuels and the carbon emissions, which impact climate change, which impact public health, which makes the outcomes of pandemics worse, or something equally as asinine. This is heavily embedded into this pandemic treaty, this draft.